Ladies and gentlemen, Chef Matthew and I welcome you to another fine live session. Week 11 here in CU 101. Welcome, everybody. Good evening. Isn't this exciting? Hey, week 11 out of 12. Can you believe that? You guys rock. Hey, it's going to feel so good at the end of week 12 after you guys get done taking that final exam. And you've got this first course underneath your belt. You're going to grow, and grow. Chef Matthew and I wanted to talk to you all about something very important tonight. I'm sure Chef Matthew's got some feedback on this. What you have learned over the last 12 weeks, this is not a traditional class where you just kind of learn it and then use a little bit of the information as you kind of go along to build into the remainder of your courses. All of the information that you have learned in this course, you must continue to practice and keep relevant throughout your entire career. The stuff that Chef Matthew has talked to you about in your evaluations over the past 10 weeks is all relevant information that needs to be put into practice on a daily basis. Don't let your knife cuts go to the side. Just because you did a small dice does not mean you have mastered the technique. It is something that you have to continue working at. Isn't that right, Chef Matthew?
Absolutely. You just keep practicing on that because you'll get better and better. You'll get more fluid with it. It'll get easier and easier. And you know, some of you have more experience, and I can see that in your cuts and everything. But overall, and you guys have come a long way. I'm just thinking about what you're doing now and where we were in week 2. Oh my gosh, you've come a long way. You're doing really well.
So hats off to everybody about your progress. How does everybody feel about that, dude? Do you guys all feel good about the amount of progress that you've made so far? Yeah. Is anybody, Robert, what is that? Robert's going like so up there. Huh? Yeah. Look, if you guys look back as to where you were on week 1 and where you are today in week 10, does everybody feel like you've had a little growth? Yeah, a little bit more knowledge. Yeah, a few more things. And that's what it's all about. Those things that you've picked up over the last 10 weeks and you'll pick up through the remaining 2 weeks are things that you need to hold on to dearly. We've all taken math classes before. We've all taken English classes. We've all read Romeo and Juliet and Catcher in the Rye and all these other books where you pick up little pieces of it and you carry it forward. This class, you have to carry everything forward. So make sure it remains relevant. Ladies and gents, we are in the home stretch. We are going down the final road. Make sure that you keep the flame alive over the next couple of weeks. Chef Matthew and I are here to assist you and walk you through it. How did everybody like week 10? What kind of feedback do we have? Who wants to share? Candace, tell me a little bit about what's going on. I know your mouth is full up there. Candace? You gotta unmute yourself, Candace. There we go. Still can't hear you. We'll come back to you. We'll come back. Who else wants to share something? Amber, what do you got?
Hi.
Hi.
I actually kind of liked it. The butter was really hard to cut, and I actually cut my finger by cutting up celery, by all things. I know.
Yeah.
All things I cut my finger on. Cut my finger when I was cutting the celery. But other than that, it was pretty fun. I liked it.
Did you like the chicken?
I'd have remake it.
Yeah, that's all right. Hey, you know what? This is school. That's where we have to this is where we remake things and we redo things. So when we get ourselves into industry, we're not doing that, right? So this is the place. So good job. Yeah. Jacob, what about you? Do you have anything to share from week 12 or week 10?
I was unmuted. There you go. It was good. That's all I don't normally eat butternut squash. I really only tried to soup. a couple of times, but this way made it, tolerable for me. My wife still needs to get used to it, but I was really happy with the sweet potatoes. And as long as I kind of kept it separated from the rest, I did all right.
Hey, that's a great comment. I'm glad you brought up the butternut squash, because that is probably one of the most versatile foods that you're going to be working with in industry. Not only does it have a very long shelf life, but it's very versatile. Butternut squash bisque is one of my most favorite soups when done right. And then, roasting it in the oven is a great preparation, sauteing it, making stuffings with it, all sorts of different things. So it's a great food to work with.
There's actually another way to cook it. I mean, I'm with you guys on cutting it. That is a pain. It's a good exercise for you though. But there's another way to cut it where you just cut it in half and seed it and then roast it. Roast the halves right on a tray, and then you can scoop it out and puree it when it's done, and it's just wonderful.
Yeah.
And I think probably most of you are used to having like sweet potatoes or squash with sugar and marshmallows and molasses on it, and I absolutely hate that. I just cannot eat that. So when I see it savory and put some garlic with it, I'm excited. So I like how we did it this week.
And sweet potatoes, when they're blanched and then they're grilled, are so delicious. Yeah. And then if you kick it up a notch and you put it on top of a pizza with like a little bit of goat cheese and rosemary, oh man, you're walking. Rachel, what about you? You're down there all quiet. Rachel, how'd you like the pan gravy?
It was good. I had an issue with the chicken when I turned it over, and we only had 15 minutes remaining in the cooking time for the breast the skin to crisp up. Mine didn't crisp up like it should have, so I had to leave it in the oven longer, and then it overcooked.
Yeah, Chef Matthew had mentioned that earlier. That you weren't the only one that happened to, and I think when that recipe was written, it was probably written for a convection oven versus a conventional oven, and I think that had something to do with it. So that's a great comment.
And don't worry, when I know there's something like that's going on, I'm not taking points off. So don't worry about that.
Yeah, we let you slide. Deborah, what about you? What are you thinking up there? How'd you like week 10, Deborah?
Well, I'm gonna be honest. I didn't get to it, but I'm always roasting the chicken every Sunday.
Okay, that's all right. Well, now this Sunday, it's a great time to do it.
Yeah, I'm always roasting the chicken every Sunday.
Okay.
So
this Sunday, get your camera out.
Yeah. Okay.
You do it. Thanks, Deborah. Hey, great job, everybody. For those of you that participated in the discussion forum this week, I read a lot of really good information in there. And it's really interesting to see everybody's reflection. Biggest thing that I picked up on that people struggled with was time management in this course, which is very traditional. Because guess what an awesome chef has mastered? Time management, right? You have to remember that when we do large functions, as an executive chef, if I have a staff of 40 in my kitchen and I'm preparing a meal for 500 people, time management is critical, because I not only have to manage my time, but I also have to manage the time of those 40 other people in order to get that function prepared in a timely fashion. So we're not stressed. I'm not running overtime. My cooks aren't tired. I'm not tired. And we're all working. So really continue to work on that time management. I'll give you guys the biggest hint and take advantage of it. In the industry, what we do is we sit down before we get going and we analyze what we have to do. We make ourselves a list and then we do it. So always sit down, organize yourself, get a cup of coffee, sit down for a few minutes, take a look at what you got to get done. Think about how long it's going to take to do each thing, and then start. So that is the best way to do it. Chef Matthew, live from Indiana, the frozen tundra.
Right here on the north side of Indianapolis, we have about 25 degrees, and it was snowing all day. not much, but enough to make me cold. So
sounds like great weather for grilling.
Yeah, so man, I'm going to get my grill out, as a matter of fact, and I'm going to start grilling. I love to grill. Every New Year's Eve I grill. So despite the weather, no matter what. So I get a good bottle of wine, and can I say that live?
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, I get a good bottle of wine and get the fire going and get some porterhouse steaks or something like that, or some ribeyes, and just enjoy. So,
what time are you serving dinner?
It's a long commute for you, Chef. It really is.
That's all right.
But you're absolutely welcome to come over. So,
I love pictures of Indiana, but it's not on my bucket list. No.
Yeah, you told me earlier that it's so cold in Indiana you wouldn't even fly over it. So I understand. I get you.
No. Today Tucson was frozen at 65 degrees. Our high was only 73. This is not right. Yeah.
Poor you. That's tough.
It is. It's wrong.
Yeah.
Even the coyotes are shivering right now.
You almost can't drink cold beer at that temperature.
That's right. Hey, how'd the assignments look this week?
They look really good. We just talked about the issue with the chicken. The other issue I thought of was that if I were making that assignment, I would be adjusting the oven temperature so I could cook my potatoes at the same time, because there's no way I would cook that chicken and then let it sit around for an hour and get my potatoes in the oven. I would adjust that time. But otherwise, I think everything looked really good. Everybody had good-looking gravy, and the chicken was great. And I did roast a chicken last night, and my whole house smelled great. I followed that recipe when I made it, and took a little longer because usually I cut it up. But boy, it was juicy. It was delicious. So
awesome. And then here we are through week 10. How was everybody's attention to detail and sanitation and all that kind of good stuff?
It's looking really good. Like I say, I mean, the first at least the first 75% of assignments are just all over it. They're on top of it and
awesome.
And doing everything. I haven't seen toes for, I think, 3 weeks or maybe 4 weeks. So, and we're seeing hats on everybody. Everybody's holding up their numbers, and I don't know where you're going to get the extra digit for week 11, but
this is a pretty creative class. I think they'll figure it out. Yeah. You might see some toes in this instance. Yeah, the possibility. Yeah. Well, Chef Matthew and I are so impressed. The scores in this class are above average for where we're at this stage in the game. So congratulations to everybody. You should all be very proud of yourselves. It's very, very important. Everyone needs to take a few moments to realize that if you're struggling with your grade, or if you're not too comfortable with where it's at right now is the time to get a hold of me. You can send me a Moodle message. You can text message me. My number's on the right-hand side of the class page. Let's work something out before it comes too late. It's our goal to see you get through this class. That's what we want. And we want you to go on to 121 or 122 very successfully, having learned the basics here and being able to function in that class at a higher level, because that's where you're all headed at this point. So,
Chef, and can I add this, Chef? I think week 12 assignment, we need to see some crazy hats. Maybe
that'd be kind of cool, wouldn't it?
Yeah, just don't wear your regular Escoffier issue hat. Wear something crazy. Let's see what we get.
That could be very interesting. This is a pretty creative class. Yeah, Robert's down there going, "Hey, where's that hat at?" I remember that Vegas hat, right? Right, with the hero thing up there, and yeah, he's getting creative. Yeah, I'm down with that. I like it.
Yeah.
Ladies and gents, before we get going into the meat and potato of tonight's topic, remember that things get busy around the holidays. We all have a lot going on. Things get stressful. Do not let up on the last 2 weeks. You are way too far. keep your passion alive. Remember, your priority is moving on to 122 in January. So keep it alive, keep it going. We only have 2 weeks left. Just remember where you started, where you're at, where you're going, man, because it's you guys are all headed in that positive direction. So very, very important. Before we move on to our subject this week, I would want to discuss week 12 just a little bit. Week 12 will be the last week in this class. Our last live session will be next Wednesday. Our assignment next week is plating, which we will talk about at the time of the class. However, there is also a final exam that will be due. The final exam, you have one attempt and one attempt only. And then you have 90 minutes to complete the exam. So it's not the most difficult thing in the world. All of the answers are contained within the research materials. It is not an exam based on trickery, right? So it's an exam that you should all do fairly well on. If you've done your knowledge checks religiously throughout this course, you will be just fine. Trust me. And then also in week 12 at the bottom of the class page, there are a number of different topics for you to read before you take the final exam itself. Your assignments will be due no later than that Sunday night. It's very, very important to get them in. Otherwise, you will not receive your grade until we come back from winter break. Everybody understand that? Generally, it is due on Tuesday at 11:59. We are now asking that you turn in week 12 by Sunday at 11:59. So
Sunday.
Let's answer Alicia's question here. Alicia, what's up?
I was trying to ask this question before you jumped into the assignment for this week. It was about week 3. I'm doing my chicken broth because I didn't get the assignment in. And one of the pictures are to scan the scum.
Skim the scum.
I'm sorry, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't have any. I'm guessing because I let I'm doing it with chicken feet, and I let it sit in cold water for about a day. But there's none rising, so I'm losing out on that picture before the time is up for it to be done.
Did you bring your stock to a boil first and then turn it down to a simmer?
Yes.
Okay. So what you need to be doing now, you should get a little bit of scum from the chicken feet. Scum can be a white froth. It can be coagulated gray protein, or it could also be a layer of fat. And so what you want to do is you want to set your ladle into that stock, skim it off the surface, and then discard that mess. Scum.
Okay.
Yeah. Sound good?
Yeah, it's probably going to be pretty light with those chicken feet. So good question.
Yeah. All right, Andrea, what's your question?
I just had a question regarding the class. After this class is over, will we still have access to it, like the recipes and everything, or should we go and like?
Good question. I think this class will definitely remain open to December 19th. I know that you'll have access at least till then.
Okay. All right.
And then always, if once you get beyond this class and you can always contact Chef Matthew and I. We're more so than happy to help you, as are all the instructors here at Escoffier. If you were to reach out and say, hey, Chef Warren, I need this information from, X, Y, and Z, we're going to get you that information. So.
Okay, but the book is for the whole year, right?
That is correct.
Okay.
That is correct.
All right. Thank you, Chef.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Ladies and gents, moving on to the meat and potatoes of this week. I know it is December, and these are not the ideal grilling conditions outside. Not everybody's going to be like Chef Matthew and brave the snow to go out and cook the ribeyes. But this week's assignment is grilling. Look at Andrea's down there like, I'm down. All right, I love your spirit. That's awesome.
I live in Alaska, and we grill all winter long.
Oh, there you
I
go.
live in Alaska and we grill all winter long.
I love you, man. That's awesome. That's awesome. I love that attitude. Yeah. How does ice cook on the grill?
It melts. It melts.
As long as you can light it, you're fine. Right.
Right.
Let's take a look at our class page this week to make sure that we're all on the same page. Can you see that, Chef Matthew?
Yep, there it is.
All right, we're good. Hopefully everybody got a chance to see this custom-made video this week, right here, made right here in Tucson, Arizona.
Ooh,
And then
nice.
as we scroll down, our research materials, once again, are critical to this week's lesson. Make sure you read them and take advantage of them. I have noticed that some people have begun to slack a bit on the knowledge checks and the conversion knowledge checks, which affects your grade in the long run. So make sure you get those done and turned in by this Saturday. Do your knowledge checks by Saturday. And then the actual live session, thank you very much for attending this evening. You are the smart ones, and the smart ones are also watching the live session archive, which will be posted on the class page immediately following the live session. And then the discussion forum, you are blessed this week because you have 2 of them. So congratulations. Look at Rachel, she's all happy. We are going to have a discussion reflection on the skills reflection. And then you're also going to be discussing the most versatile cooking method, which are both self-explanatory once you open up the discussion forum. So it's good information. And then this week, we're grilling in the kitchen. Outside in the frozen tundra, we are grilling grilled vegetables, dauphinoise potatoes, and then you're either going to grill chicken or steak. That sounds pretty good, actually.
Yeah.
So like that.
So
everybody like that? Are those good assignments? Yeah.
So light up the grill, then go in the house, get your dauphinoise in the oven, and then while that's cooking, go out and finish your vegetables and your steaks.
I like that, man. I like that attitude. And make sure that's an example of planning that a chef does right there. Puts his dauphinoise potatoes in the oven and goes out and cooks everything on the grill. So when the food comes off the grill, the potatoes come out of the oven. Timing, time management. Great example, Chef Matthew.
Thank you. Everything warm at the same time. It's you got to learn how to do it.
Technology. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right. And then make sure that your discussion forum is turned in by this Saturday. We had a number of late submissions this past week. Don't let up. Get them turned in by Saturday. All right, ladies and gents, put your seatbelts on. We're going for a ride. We're going to be talking about grilling here for the next few minutes. It is something that's very passionate to me. Being out here in the Western United States, we do this all year round. Just like Andrea up in Alaska, we grill all year long. Grilling has a lot of health benefits and some benefits that aren't so great. It is a dry heat cooking method. However, charcoal releases what we call carcinogens, which have been shown to cause cancer in laboratory animals. So you want to be careful there a little bit. We hear a lot about a broiler, right? Does anybody know what a broiler is? Yeah, does everybody hear that term? Yeah. Oh, put it on the broiler, right? And then we also hear the grill, right? A broiler and a grill are 2 totally different pieces of equipment. A broiler cooks from the top down, and a grill will cook from the bottom up. So make sure that once you get into industry, if they tell you to put it in the broiler, generally it's an upright stainless steel cabinet that has a drawer that pulls out. You put your steak on it, and you put it in, and it emits an immense amount of heat from the top. So technically, a grill is defined by, to say, cooking over heat on a grid. And that's traditionally what we do. And like I mentioned, it is a dry heat cooking method that we generally use to sear proteins, right? So we want to sear the outside of whatever we're cooking to help keep the juices on the inside. But we have to be careful when we grill because it can be a little bit tricky. We've mentioned this before. When you go to cook a protein, what happens to the strands of protein? They curl up, right? If you cook them too quickly, and it becomes like a pig's tail. And when that pig's tail effect happens, it squeezes all the juice out of the meat and you end up with a very dry steak, which is really important to understand that once you get into industry, we primarily cook on natural gas, okay? Natural gas grills in industry, although you turn them all on high, right? All the burners on high, all grills have hot spots and cold spots. The heat is not emitted evenly over the surface of the grill. You need to learn this. So once you get into industry, you're able to effectively cook a steak, okay? What we generally do is we look for the white spots on a grill, and that will tell you where the hottest spot is. It's not always in the left corner. It's not always on the bottom right. It can be anywhere on the grill, and we'll get back to that here in just a moment. Grills traditionally have a multitude of different heat sources. You know, the briquettes that you cook at home, try to avoid using those. They don't emit very much heat, and they don't last very long. If you're going to be cooking on any type of charcoal, you want to use lump charcoal, which is traditionally mesquite, and it's almost pure carbon. So it burns very, very hot, and it's very, very easy to light. They're big pieces. Down here in Arizona, we use a lot of mesquite carbon, which gives our food that distinctive flavor that we like to work with. If you're going to use a wood, you cannot just use any kind of wood to cook on a grill. It has to emit enough BTUs, and it has to get hot enough to form that sear on the exterior of your meat. So you want to use an apple wood, you want to use a pecan wood, you want to use a mesquite wood. Things like pine, juniper, they don't get hot enough to actually create that nice sear. What does hot enough mean, right? We can't do hot enough. So generally, our rule of thumb is that we want to keep our grill right around 600 degrees. That's about the minimum temperature that's required. And then what we do in industry to check is if you can hold your hand over the grill for more than 5 seconds, it's not hot enough. But if once you get to that 4th and 5th second, if your hand is burning and you have to move it, then you're good to go. So that's very, very important. So what do we do with these hot spots and cold spots, right? So in industry, what we do, a good broiler cook will start the steaks or the chicken or whatever the case may be, your protein on that hot spot. And you create that sear, right? And then after you create the sear, we move it to the cold spot to let it finish.
Yeah.
Traditionally in industry, when you go out to a restaurant and you order a steak, it's only on that grill for a couple of minutes. And what we do is we create the sear, the diamond effect on it, and then we throw it into the oven to finish it off. Now, how do we get the diamond effect? Right? It's quite simple. So it's the cross, the diamonds. And what we do is we start our steak or our chicken or our seafood, whatever it is, we put it down onto the grill at a 90-degree angle, right? Just like this, not like this, like this. And then after about 2 or 3 minutes, we move it another 90 degrees, right? And that will create the diamond mark that you see on the grill. So you're going to start at a 90-degree angle, and then you're going to rotate to another 90-degree angle after a couple of minutes, and you will create that nice diamond effect that you see on steaks that are served in restaurants. The reason we do that, number one, the appearance is very nice, it's very uniform, and number two, it creates an even sear across the top of that steak. It's very, very important. So this is such a big subject. I love it. I get into it. I get into grilling, you know. So grill maintenance, that's a big issue. In the restaurant industry, our grills are generally 36, 48, 52, in bigger are grills. So they take a lot to maintain because a lot of carbon builds up on them. Some basic rules of thumb. We use a brush that's about 3 feet long with wire bristles on it to clean our grills. So we get our grill very hot before we clean it. And when you go to rub your brush across the grates, always brush away from you, because you don't want to look like you're wearing a black chef coat, right? If you go this way, you get yourself dirty. If you go that way, it gets sucked up into the hood system and you're perfectly fine. So always clean your grill when it's hot. It's very, very important. And then when it comes to grilling items, especially in the restaurant industry, we try to avoid using a lot of oils on your grill. If your grill's hot enough, theoretically, no food should stick to it. However, if you put a lot of oil onto your grill, what's going to happen is you're going to create flames, right? We don't like to cook our food in flames because that creates a char. And then if there's a lot of oil dripping down, you're going to have a lot of flames coming up. And that's going to create a nasty, bitter carbon flavor on your food. So we desperately try to avoid doing that at all times. It's very, very important. So, has anybody ever been to a large banquet before? Yeah, Robert has. Yeah, Rachel has. A couple of you have. Blake's been down there. Yeah, Sharon. Well, think about this. Check it out. If I have a 36-inch grill, which is a 3-foot grill in my kitchen, and I'm doing hamburgers for 500 people, that's a lot, right? How am I going to do that? So what we do in industry is we do what we call dummy cooking, and we put our burgers down onto the grill, probably 20 at a time, right? Put our marks on them, and then we put them on the sheet pans with racks, and then we put it into the cooler. And we refrigerate them. And then the day of the party, which is the following day or the following 2 days, we pull them out, we finish them off in the oven, and the people are going, wow, you just grilled all those burgers? You're amazing, right? So when we do large buffets with grilled items on it, say we're doing grilled top sirloin steaks or grilled ribeye steaks for a group of 300 or 400 people, and we have a cook out there cooking steaks, we can't cook 300 steaks in front of people. It's a very difficult thing to do. So what we do is we set up several chafing dishes with steaks that we've cooked in the back. We put them into the chafing dishes. When the guests begin to come through the buffet line, we'll load our grill in front of us with 30 or 40 steaks to give the effect that we're cooking the steaks in front of the customer. They smell the smoke, they see the steaks. They're like, these guys just kicked out 300 steaks off that little grill. They are awesome, right? And you're like, yeah, I did it. You know, let alone, I mean, we did it all in the back. So we do a lot of dummy cooking. Before you go to grill anything, it's always a good idea to pull it out and let it hang out for a few minutes. What that does is that allows those proteins to relax. And it also brings the temperature of your steak up a little bit, which will help it prevent it from cooking. Because when you start with a really cold steak and you put it onto the grill, that sear, that massive heat forces those proteins to curl up very quickly. So we like to let them warm up just a little bit before we grill them off. You'll find that you'll have a much juicier, much more tender steak to work with and eat. What about seasoning? That's a good question. When do we season? You know, can I season the day before? Ain't gonna happen, right? We have to season right before the meat goes onto the grill, or a lot of chefs will even season when the food is on the grill. You have to remember that sodium, salt, dehydrates food, okay? So if you want to marinate your steaks in a high sodium soy broth or something like that, you're dehydrating those steaks before they even get on the grill. So you always want to season right when it goes onto the grill. And what kind of salt do we use? Bingo. That's right. We do not use table salt. We do not use iodized salt. Those are little tiny balls that have a tendency not to stick to the food very well. We're very, very strict. Some people swear by sea salt, but in the kitchen, you're always going to find kosher salt. Kosher salt is flaked, and it sticks to the surface of the meat. So you get that nice flavor enhancement. You have to remember salt is 40% monosodium glutamate. So it really pops the flavors out quite a bit. So you want to season your meat heavily, right? Do not be timid when you go to cook a steak. I guarantee you, and Chef Matthew can back me up on this, I've never had somebody return a steak saying it's salty. It doesn't happen, right? But you see a lot of people putting more meat on there. You have to remember, when you season meat, you're only seasoning the exterior. What's on the inside still is flavorless. So you have to compensate by putting a lot of additional seasoning on that meat. It's very, very important. All right, ladies and gents, how do we tell the temperature? Does anybody know? Julie's got some ideas. Jacqueline's got some ideas. Oh, look at that. Look at that. Robert's got his thermometer. You came to class with your thermometer, Robert. I like that, man. That is a well-equipped chef right there. Yeah. Right, there's a couple of different things that we do. First off, before I go into it, as a broiler cook, and I've run a lot of broilers in my career, if I have 40 steaks on the grill simultaneously, and 10 are medium rare, 20 are well done, and 5 are rare, and then the other 5 are medium, am I going to run around with my thermometer and like poke, 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 poke? It'll never, ever happen.
Also, are you going to harpoon a $40 steak? I mean, let the juice out? Nobody's going to be happy with that.
On the grill? Yeah. Ain't going to happen, man. So, number one, when we run a broiler in industry, we are extremely organized. I used to work in a very high volume place. 50 steaks on the grill at once was very common. And you could walk up to the grill and every single one of the rares are lined up. Every single one of the well dones they're all in a row, lined up nice and neat according to the hot spot and cold spot on that grill. And it takes a lot of concentration. After a period of time, you develop that flow, and you'll know how long it takes to cook a steak. You'll know how long that rare steak has been on. You know it's time to come off and sell it. So you pick that up with experience. However, a quick and easy way to tell is your hands, which is wonderful. So if you take your index finger and you touch the steak, right? Boing, 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 right? And you take your thumb and your pinky together like this. This part right here on your hand is going to be what a well done steak feels like, right? So you have to put your pinky and your thumb together, push them together, and then the palm of your hand, this part right here, is what a well done steak feels like. Okay, and then on your next finger, your ring finger, that would be medium well. Middle finger, which I cannot show you, would be a medium steak, and then your index finger would be a rare steak.
And you know what that is, Chef? That is proof that God meant for us to cook steaks. Right there.
Absolutely. Thank you.
It is. It is.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. So index finger and thumb create a rare steak. Index finger or pinky and thumb together create a well done steak, right? Don't do it like this. You'll get a different feeling. Make sure you put your pinky and your thumb together, and you'll get that feeling. And that's generally what we use in industry, is sense of feel. So you will walk into the kitchen, you'll see all the cooks going, and we can tell exactly what temperature that steak is. Yeah, when we do banquets and that type of stuff, we do use our thermometers to make sure that we're right on the money. If we're going to serve 600 medium rare steaks, we want to make sure that they are medium rare. We don't want to rely on sense of feel. Chef Matthew, do you have anything to add to the grilling?
You covered it pretty well, Chef. I'd say, like you said, minimal on the oils. I think like an oil spray is easy to use. I'd use a vegetable oil. And you'll notice when your grill is good and hot, when you spray into it, it'll flame up, and that is kind of an easy way to tell where the hot spots are. And I think what I do is I put a little oil in a pan and just very lightly coat the the steak or the chicken breast or whatever, just enough to make it shiny. And then I'll put a little seasoning on it and put it on the grill. And even the seasoning will help it keep from sticking. So, just a couple things.
Nailed that. Yeah, anything more than that on your meat, you're asking for problems. I don't know if anybody's ever gone to a restaurant before and you kind of have that like char type flavor on the meat, or you could tell where it was flaming up and it kind of started to burn the oil and it becomes bitter.
Yeah.
Minimal. And then as far as preventing the sticking, you will see a lot of chefs in the industry with a can of nonstick spray spraying their grill and then the flames coming back up and from the aerosol. We don't recommend that. But what we do not brush your grill with a nylon brush. Nylon heat, not good. But what we do is we use towels in the kitchen for everything. I don't know if anybody has those oven mitts at home. Does anybody have those things? Right? You won't see those in industry. We don't use oven mitts, but we use dry towels, right? They're 8x12 or 10x12, and we fold them up into about eighths, right? So it becomes about this big. We'll put it into a little bit of oil, and then we'll rub the grill with the oil, which will season the grill to help prevent sticking.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
And that's a little safer than the spray can. Yep. Good point, Chef.
Yeah. Yeah. We've seen a lot of spray that just doesn't work.
You can always tell the grill cook, though. They don't have any hair on their hands, and usually their eyebrows are singed off. So.
Oh, I know. Yeah. Okay, so the other night we all got to. We have a large pizza oven in our yard here. We had it built, and it burns about 800 degrees. And so a good friend of mine runs Grubhub. Another friend of mine is a very large franchisee for Domino's Pizza. We were all out there making pizzas, and we kept sticking and looking into the oven to check out the pizzas as they're cooking, and it's just an exciting time. Well, we take all the food, we go back in, we sit down, and we kind of look around at each other. Nobody's got eyebrows. So it's got to happen, people. Let's take a look at our recipes this week. We're going to be grilling vegetables here. 1 pound vegetables. I highly recommend for this first assignment of grilling vegetables that you work with a very fibrous vegetable, such as a carrot. That sweet potato, I love doing that. If you want to blanch them first, cook them halfway. Zucchini works extremely well. And of course, asparagus is a favorite on the grill. Make sure you put the asparagus across the grates, not with the grates, because they fall through. And that can be kind of unpleasant. Those are my favorite. Onions are fantastic to grill as well. The caramelization of the sugars and everything else is absolutely delicious. So you're going to take 1 pound of vegetable. And I'm going to recommend that your cuts are at least a 1/4 inch thick. It's very, very important. Anything thinner than that, you're going to cook through the vegetable too quickly, and it's going to be overcooked. When you put your vegetable on the grill, you're going to give it some nice marks on one side, nice marks on the other side, and then get it off and lay it flat onto a rack. The reason for that is vegetables are very sensitive to carryover heat. So they get hot, they stay hot, they continue to cook. You do not want to serve a puree of squash. You want to serve something with a bite to it. So make sure that you are cognizant of that fact before you move forward. You're going to take your 1 pound of vegetable. You're going to toss it in a little bit of vegetable oil just to moisten it up a bit. Then you're going to season it. And then you're going to place them onto the grill. And then you're going to mark them real nice. Undercook them. Pull them off when you think they are not done. Right? And then you are going to put them onto a plate when you are done. So it's actually a very simple exercise. And then you're either going to grill chicken or beef this week. It's your choice, either one. So Deborah, instead of roasting the chicken, no, you got to roast the chicken. Well, you could roast and grill the chicken this week. So you're going to take a chicken breast. I prefer to use chicken thighs. I don't care for chicken breast very much. I like a little bit more of a moist meat versus a dry white meat. make sure your grill is sufficiently hot, right? We talked about 600 degrees, especially with chicken. You don't want to start chicken on a cold grill because you force it to sweat. And when I say sweat, it begins to excrete moisture, proteins coagulate, it looks nasty. Get a nice hot grill. You're going to season that chicken breast and brush it lightly, like Chef Matthew was just talking about. You're going to brush it very lightly with oil, just enough to give it some sheen. Not dripping, just sheen. And then you're going to grill it skin side down. We always do service side first in the restaurant industry on the grill. Okay? So if you're going to grill a steak and it has a nicer side than the other one that you plan on using for the service side, the side that the customer is going to see first, you're going to cook that side first always. Your grill is hottest. You're going to get the nicest, cleanest grill marks. And if you mess up that side, you always have the other side to work with, which happens more often than not.
That happens.
Yeah. So you're gonna season that chicken breast. You're gonna put it down on the grill, 90-degree angle, about 2 minutes. Move it back to the other side, 90-degree angle for about another 2 minutes. Flip it over. Repeat the process. Move it to the cold side after that. Your grill's gonna have a cold spot. You're gonna let it hang out and finish. We call it resting. Let it take its time. And then you're gonna remove it once that chicken is at 165 degrees and put that onto the plate. And then for the protein, if you choose to do a grilled strip loin steak, I'm sure Chef Matthew's not gonna have a problem if you do a top sirloin or if you do a ribeye steak. It's not too important. Don't be grilling things like chuck steak or top round, or those are very dry meats. Those inexpensive cuts do not fare well on the grill because they don't have the fat content.
They come out super chewy.
Yeah, it'll be like eating beef jerky. It'll be a very unpleasant experience. Yeah. It's like you're going to the 7-Eleven to buy jerky, man. Mm-hmm. So you're gonna, same process as doing the chicken breast all the way across. Make sure that grill is nice and hot. You can put a little bit of oil on there, very light, heavy seasoning, 90-degree angle on the grill on the hot spot, 90-degree angle, flip it, repeat the process, pull it to the side, cook it to your desired doneness. Remember, if you put your pinky and your thumb together and you squeeze lightly, that's a well done steak. If you put your index finger and your thumb together and you squeeze, that's going to be a rare steak. And somewhere in between there, depending on your taste, is where you want to pull it off. Any questions about that?
I do recommend that everybody at some point learn how to cook a medium rare steak, even if you don't like it. Most of the industry, if you go out for a steak, most people are going to order between medium rare and medium well. I know a lot of people like it well done. I don't like it rare. I like it medium rare to medium, depending on the steak. I'm pretty picky about it, but it's a good idea to learn how to cook it medium rare, and that's fine. Cook it medium rare, take a look at it and go, hey, I nailed it. I got medium rare, and then put it back on and finish it how you like it. So, because if you cook steaks in a restaurant, you need to know every temperature. So, and
also get familiar with, if you're a banquet chef, right? Always be familiar with the group that you're working with, because certain cultures like their meats done a certain way. And it's not right and it's not wrong. There's no good guy, bad guy in this situation. I did a banquet for 300 people. I was executive chef at this resort, and they were having prime rib. It was slow roasted prime rib. And I thought, well, I didn't know much about the group, but I thought I'd serve it all medium rare to 300 people. It turned out to be a bunch of golfers from Mexico. And in Mexico, they traditionally eat their meat well done. So I had about 275 plates come back to cook a little bit more. So always be conscientious of that fact as well, who you are serving your meat to. It's very important. Let's answer some questions. Amber, what's on your mind?
Hello.
Hi.
I'm so sorry. I swear, I think you might think I'm a pain in the butt, but
no.
What if we don't have a grill? I had a grill, but there was a wasp living in it, and we threw it away.
Do you know anybody that has a grill? A neighbor, a friend, relative?
Nope.
No.
Yep. Yeah, I'm a little screwed there.
Okay, let's send Chef Matthew or myself a message, and we'll work something out with you on the side.
Okay.
Okay? Alicia.
My computer went to a static, and then I had to re-log in, and you were explaining the vegetables already. But are we supposed to do both the chicken and the steak, or choose between?
No, you can choose between the chicken or the steak. But so your assignment this week is to grill the vegetable and or chicken and steak.
Okay.
Okay, so you're gonna have 2 hot items that you're serving this week, other than the Pommes Dauphinoise that we're about to get into right now.
Okay.
Does that sound good?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So, ladies and gents, make sure that you reach out, ask for help if you need, if you have any questions about that. Shoot us a text, shoot us a Moodle message. We'll help you out. Potatoes Dauphinoise. Robert was talking about that at the beginning of the class, and he was absolutely right on the money. They are an addictive addictive item. They should have a rehab for Dauphinoise potatoes because they are absolutely delicious. Very high in fat. Serve them with a defibrillator, but they are a great dish. They're very versatile for us in industry. We prepare them in what we call hotel pans, 2 inches deep, about 18 inches long. We'll prepare about 10 different hotel pans, cook them off, refrigerate them, and then they become a solid. Once they become solid, we'll cut them into a nice diamond or triangle shape. And then when we get an order in industry, hey, I need a filet mignon with Dauphinoise potatoes. Boom, the Dauphinoise potatoes go in to the oven. We heat them up and we serve them. They are absolutely delicious. Lot of variations of these Dauphinoise potatoes. In industry, I've done them with a layer of russet, then a layer of sweet potato, a layer of green chili, a layer of purple potato, a layer of russet potatoes. So when you slice into them, you get that beautiful color effect and a little bit of spice in there. So once you learn this technique, there are a lot of different things that you can do and work with. So as we've talked about before, a couple of key points about potatoes. Number one, we never store them in the refrigerator. Right? We only store them out. If you put a potato into the refrigerator or any other hard vegetable that is high in carbohydrates, the carbohydrate content will increase, right? That means that the sugars multiply and the starch content increases, so it's not a good idea. It's not recommended. Always keep them at room temperature. And then when you go to shop for your potatoes, make sure you buy potatoes that are fairly smooth and fairly large. I know we like to buy in the bag because you get a little discount on it. It's always highly recommended that you pick your potatoes out individually. Try to get the larger russets, right? You don't want a starchy or waxy potato for this assignment. You want an Idaho or a russet potato, one that's preferably smooth without a lot of eyes on it, one that doesn't have green underneath the skin. Make sure you pay particular attention to the quality of your product. Amber asked this at the beginning of the class. This week's assignment, you have to slice the potatoes very thin. Yes, you can use a mandolin if you have one. We prefer that you do it to continue with a knife to continue improving on your knife skills. When we say thin, the potato should be about 1/8 to 1/16 of an inch thick, each slice. Okay, so very, very thin. So let's take a look at the recipe for the Dauphinoise potato. It's in here somewhere. And okay, Dauphinoise potatoes. That's up on the screen, Chef Matthew?
Looks good.
We all good? Okay. That's even better. See, I got to have things big so I can see it.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Yeah. Pommes is, in French is potato. So when you call it a potato, it's about $2 a serving. When you call it pommes, it's about $4 a serving. So it definitely increases the value. So potatoes Dauphinoise is the name of this dish. First thing you want to do, especially for this assignment, is you want to gather all of your mise en place first. We talked about the type of potatoes that we should buy. Make sure they are not red potatoes or Yukon Gold potatoes or any of those starchy potatoes or waxy potatoes. It's not a good idea. The first thing you're going to do after you wash those potatoes, you're going to peel the potatoes and cut into 1/16 of an inch slice. That's very thin. That's the first notch on a ruler, right? They need to be thin, otherwise this dish is not going to turn out very well. And do not place the potatoes in water. And we do in industry when we're making a large volume, so the potatoes do not turn brown or black. But this is a smaller quantity, and I assume that you're going to be working a little bit quicker. So do not place the potatoes in water because you want them fairly dry.
Yeah.
In a buttered half-size hotel pan or roasting pan, you're going to toss the potatoes in the salt, garlic, and then you're going to layer them into the pan like a rooftop, like a shingle. Did I say that right, Chef Matthew?
Yeah, just like shingle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that the Macarena? Is it a Macarena? No.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
So you're going to shingle them in the pan, right? And then you're going to mix the cream and milk, and you're going to season that. You're going to heat it up, and that's called tempering, right? Because if you put that product into the oven cold and it gets up to that high heat, you run the potential of breaking the cream and the butter into the fat, the whey, and the water, and you don't want that. You want to keep it all emulsified. So we'll bring it up to a boil, which is tempering it, and then we're going to pour that over the potatoes, and then we're going to bake it in the oven at 400 degrees for 30 minutes, and the potatoes will be tender. The sauce is going to become thick by the starch that is from the potatoes. So the potatoes are actually going to thicken the sauce, which will be quite nice. I love this dish.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see, Alicia, what is your question? What you got?
No, you answered my question. I think you didn't take my hand down.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, does anybody
That's my job. I got one job. I mean, that's my job. I'm sorry, everybody.
Blame it on the weather, man. It's Indiana.
Oh, yeah, it's cold. Dang.
Yeah. Yeah. So does anybody have any questions about our assignments this week? No? None? Everybody's got it? Let's take a look at our weekly assignment page. So we can all get 100s this week, which is our ultimate goal. And it is a fairly traditional layout this week. We want to make sure that we have our proper self-identification photo. Chef Matthew was boasting about the fact he hasn't seen any feet. Let's finish up the last 2 weeks without any. And we want to make sure that we have our sanitizer bucket, our station set, our mise en place out. And then for the grilled protein, remember, you can do chicken or beef or both, whichever you feel like doing, but you have to do one or the other at least. And you need to show a picture of it on the grill or in the grill pan. Everybody know what a grill pan is? Okay, we'll explain that here in just a moment. And then protein with thermometer demonstrating proper doneness. So if that is a chicken breast, it's going to be 165. And then a steak, 130, 120 is perfectly acceptable for that, for medium rare, medium. Grilled vegetable, appropriately seasoned vegetable before grilling. And then you want to have vegetable on the grill, and then a picture of the finished product. And then the dauphinoise potato, the thin sliced potato with a ruler to demonstrate proper thickness. Chef Matthew will be all over that this week. Finished potatoes in the cooking vegetable, or cooking vessel, right? And then finished and plated portion of potatoes. And of course, your narrative sheet this week. So, ladies and gents, does anyone have any questions?
Now Alicia has a question.
All right, Alicia, what's going on? Alicia. Ground control to make. Huh? Alicia, you're breaking up. You're breaking up really bad. You're gonna have to send us a message.
Can you hear me?
Oh, there you go. That's better.
Yeah.
I think we're still kind of in the same boat, Alicia. So go ahead and send us a message with your question.
Can you hear me?
Now we can hear you. Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Kind of.
Off and on. Yeah, you're going to have to send a message. It just kind of works and then doesn't work.
Yeah. So hang on. Send us a message so we can get your question answered. We want to make sure we get it, okay?
Yeah. Put wood, like the maple wood into the, instead of grill.
Maple's a good wood that you can burn. That burns at a fairly high heat, so that's fine. Sound good?
Yeah, I'm hearing
Okay. And if you want to talk more about this, send me a message and we'll get some more questions for you. Amber, what's up?
Okay, I got a question about the potatoes.
Okay.
Can we use a Dutch oven instead of a roasting pan?
Sure, absolutely. As long as that Dutch oven's not like a Dutch pot, you know, you want to have it should have about a 2-inch lip on it, which would be ideal. Does that help?
Yeah.
Yeah, the big deal is that you got to get a pan that's the right size this way, because if you get it too far this way, then everything's spread out too far and it burns before the potatoes are cooked. If you get it too far this way, then it's too deep and the potatoes aren't cooked. Then the outside burns and the inside's not done. So you want to have your total product, no more than 1.5 inches deep. So.
Yeah, I have a 6-quart one, so I don't think that'll work.
Yeah.
Okay.
Crap.
Try to stick with the baking dish. You have better luck.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Or buy a tin, pie tin at the store, at the dollar store. You could use that. That'd be about the right size.
Mm-hmm.
So like a disposable one, or like?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, cool.
Yep.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for an awesome week 11 live session. Chef Matthew and I are very proud of all of you. Please keep it going for the next couple of weeks. And if you have any questions or need any help, make sure that you reach out and you ask. Everybody have a great week. And if we don't hear from you, we'll see you next Wednesday. Take care.